Okay, I'll go ahead and call us to order for this work session. And the topic will be the 2026 municipal funding scoring criteria. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mira.
So I might just introduce Marin and this process briefly. It really is a Marin show, and that's one of the reasons I want to kind of do a brief introduction. I'm so happy with how close we are to getting this to this final stage of fine tuning, because 3 or 4 years ago, this was, they didn't have a standard application. They could do it year round, even after the budget was done. There was no reports and all those kinds of things. So I really am grateful that we continue to fine tune this. I think this will do it with some scoring. It should hold for a while at that point. I'm fine continuing to process improvement, but this really does take it to a higher level, and to kind of what other entities, municipal entities and governmental entities do with grants. So Marin has placed in front of you 5 different, I think, handouts. I believe on the top, even though it's kind of the last thing that we're going to get to, but I had her put it on top. Those are the questions that we need some help with so I think it says, questions or areas that we need council guidance on. So you're welcome to look those over before she starts, but really that's where we're going to end up. So I just wanted you to be aware of what the ask of you all tonight is. So other than that, I think Marin's got a great PowerPoint here to walk you through and some forms. So Marin, go ahead.
Thank you. For the record, Marin Packer, Executive Assistant. So right now we are in the session to determine scoring criteria for the 2026 municipal funding applications. The applications will open January 1st. And I wanted to walk you through also what the 2026 application will look like, as well as the annual report and what that's going to look like, because those are 2 templates that will be solidified as well as of 2026. To get started, the municipal funding timeline, right now we have the application opens January 1st. It closes on June 1st. We give this long timeline to encourage applicants to meet with staff about their application in case anything needs to be clarified, revised, etc., answered questions. Applications are scored and presented to council on June 15th and added to the municipal funding budget in August. And then we go through the process of drafting agreements with the organizations. The current municipal funding recipients have their annual report due open November 1st and due December 31st. And by December 31st, we hope that the budget has been adopted and that municipal funding agreements for the next year have all been finalized and are ready to go. And then January 15th, we present annual reports for the previous year's recipients to council. So the application process, it has 5 sections. Number 1 is just on the organization, then funding, then we get into planning, their proposed budgets, and attestations. Section 1 is the organization. It's standard on what you find on any application. We just need to be able to know their organization, contact information, their nonprofit status, etc. Section 2 is when we get into funding. This is when they determine what kind of funding category they can apply for. We have 2 funding categories that we are legally allowed to give funding to. Path A is broad public benefit, and Path B is health and human services. Under Path A, I have 4 different questions that then pop up under a broad public benefit. And under Path B, we have 5 different questions. Some of those questions were suggested by our legal department, which is why they have a little bit more. But it's everything from what is the problem statement that you're trying to solve to what is the public benefit. Hopefully they can provide some data, and if they've ever received municipal funding before or what their funding sources are to continue programs beyond us. Section 3 is all about planning. This is kind of the meat. This is where they state what their goal for is using this funding. So what they want to use municipal funds for and what they want to get out of it. And we have 3 opportunities for them to state a goal, as well as those measurable outcomes and the expected numbers of persons to be served with that funds. Section 4 is their proposed budget. There are 3 different things that I'm asking for in their proposed budget. Number 1, what is the anticipated expense? If it's a direct or indirect expense, that way we can track to make sure that council's policy of no more than 25% going to indirect expenses is accounted for. And number 3, what related deliverable is it going to support? Because we want to make sure that all anticipated expenses, if it's a direct expense, goes to support one of their goals. And section 5 is the attestation. This is where they agree that they've read and agree to our guidelines. They signed their application. And there's an optional section where they can upload program information or letters of support. We limit the number of documents they can upload in that section to 5. Next, we have the scoring criteria. This is going to be new, and let's walk through it. These are the sources, just listed in alphabetical order, that I did research on who have scoring criteria for grant programs. It's not typical for a city our size to have a grant program our size, and so I did kind of have to go outside of scope in order to find other grant programs that had scoring criteria. But as you can see, I've went through 10 sources, and with that, here is the scoring criteria that they recommended. There's 5 sections, and with an optional bonus totaling 100 points. Section number 1 is the pre-clearance. This is just simply, do they meet a funding category? Are they a broad public benefit or health and human services? And it's a yes and no, no points attached. Section 2 is the gate check. This is just, is the application complete? They're not missing any questions. Their proposed budget is turned in. Is it SQUIM-centric? So how much of their services is actually done in SQUIM? And number 3 is, again, adhering to council policy that the budget is within 25% for indirect expenses. Total points for section 2 is 15. Yes.
Bring that up to 25.
I'm sorry, I'll amend that. It is 25. Section 3 is the meat of the scoring criteria. This is where the most points possible are found. And this is evaluating their deliverables that were asked for in the application, as well as their problem statement. So understanding the community need, what problem are they trying to solve, what their goals are and the measurable outcomes, and if they are doing this through collaboration partnerships. So for a total of 45 points in this section. Next, section 4, we get into category specific domains. So choosing one path, either path A or path B, there's a total of 30 possible points. And this is specific to their category. So if it's a broad public benefit, we want to know that they're offering low to moderate income accessibility, that they're adhering to ADA compliance to increase accessibility, and what their local impact is. And for health and human services, we want to make sure that they're adhering to health and human services guidelines from the United States government, meaning it's evidence-based, it meets a community need, so vulnerable populations, and they have a continuum of care plan to make sure that these people do not drop off as soon as services with this organization ends. And there's a total of 30 points possible for this section. Next, we have reporting compliance. If they are a previous applicant with us who have received municipal funding before, are they compliant with reporting? And if they are, they receive 10 points. And if this is the first time this applicant has applied, they're automatically given 10 points. There's also this bonus section. Extra points may be awarded by council for applications that align closely with council priorities. It's on a scale of 0 to 5 points possible for this. And here's what the scoring rubric looks like. I got the rubric right, so that's good.
And it's right on the sheet that's before you as well.
I just got the slide.
The scoring sheet, yes, just that slide.
So you can see without the bonus, there's a total of 100 points, and there's an option to appoint a 0 to 5 for that bonus as well. So a total score of 105 points possible. Next, we have the annual report. After applications come in and are scored, and these recipients are awarded municipal funding, we ask that at the end of the year, they submit an annual report. And this is what it looks like. They copy and paste what their deliverable was, what their goal, and what their measurable outcomes were. Next, we ask them, were those outcomes met? And it's just a yes or no. And then we ask them, were there any barriers to your success? Because we want to know if that's something that we could potentially help with, or if it's a continual problem in our community. Next, we ask them to upload an expense report, what they actually spent municipal funds on. It's almost identical to their proposed budget, so it aligns with what, if it was an indirect or direct expense, and what deliverable it associated with. If they did have funds go towards indirect expenses, we're required to have them upload a personal time tracking sheet, just to make sure we can fully account for all municipal funds via audits. We need that personal time tracking sheet if municipal funds went to support positions.
So what I like about this is it's just pulling from what their ask was. It's what their application said, and just holding them accountable. Like, did you do what you wanted to do? So it's nothing new. It's just referring back to what they said they wanted to do and needed to do, and what they were prioritizing the money towards. So yeah.
And then the very last question is, how was your project or organization affected? Did this have a positive or negative effect on your overall mission or success of your project or organization? And then they just submit that. So tonight we have a few questions for you regarding what was presented. The scoring criteria, that pre-clearance, what funding category are they applying for, broad public benefit or health and human services? We need to know if it's a no, that they don't fit a funding category. Do you still want staff to present the application to you, council, or do you want us to automatically deny and send an email out to the application or applicant without council reviewing it? Number two, would you like to put a cap on the amount of funds an entity is allowed to request each municipal funding cycle? We do have a policy of 1.5% of general fund may go towards municipal funding, but would you like a cap on individual requests from applicants? Number three, this is regarding the scoring criteria again. We have focused on organizations and projects that are SQUIM-centric, and we've used the SQUIM school district boundary lines as what is SQUIM-centric. And so one of the questions is, what percentage of your services are done within the SQUIM school district boundary? Would you like to add at least 50% of services are done within SQUIM school district boundary line, at least 10%? That's the question for council. And council has determined in the 2026 municipal funding awards that 1-year award terms would be given verbatim. Would you like that policy to continue for further application years? Or would you like to increase that to 2-year awards as possible? And the last was scoring. Do you want to establish a scoring threshold? Meaning, as we score their applications, there's a minimum score required in order to make it to council, or that if they receive, say, 85 points on their score, they're awarded 85% of their total ask in municipal funds. And lastly, we have some options for reviewing and scoring municipal funding applications. Number one is the staff option. So staff reviews, scores, and presents the aggregated scores to council. All funding determinations are made by council. The scoring criteria is only a guide, it's a tool. So council will be fully able to use the scoring if they so choose, or make their own determinations. Number two is a combination. So staff reviews and scores section 1, 2, and 5, which is the gate check and the pre-clearance, and then the compliance with reporting history. And council reviews and scores sections 3, 4, and the bonus, which is the core domains and the category specific domains. Staff would aggregate the scores and then present to council. And option 3 is the council option, in which council reviews and scores, staff aggregates the scores and presents back to council. I know I threw a lot of information at you, but I'm here to walk through any questions. If you would like to make any kind of decisions, it would have to move to general discussion in council tonight, and that would require a motion. Otherwise, I'm happy to bring this issue back at a future session if we need.
Why don't you go back to the questions you need to ask answered, and then we'll leave it up to you all to have your conversation and just be a resource. Sue and Mariner here as well.
And thanks for leading this, Matt. I appreciate giving Marin the credit because this is an enormous amount of work. So, and thanks, Marin. It's well presented.
Thank you.
And well researched.
Thank you.
Question that came up as I was looking at it and just hearing you verbally go through it. On the reporting criteria, I think it's number 6, with the personal timesheets or whatever that is. Does that sort of imply that we're expecting indirect expenses to only be staff related? Would we penalize an organization that had legitimate indirect expenses that didn't fit into a personal timesheet?
No, an indirect expense could also potentially be for capital facilities, for instance. It's if an indirect expense went to support, say, administrative staff,
Right.
then they would have to do a personnel time tracking sheet.
That I assumed that was the case, but I wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And I just would be happy for us to move along in the time we have remaining to where we could get this done tonight. But that's just me.
I just got a couple things for the scoring criteria. I think we should get rid of the complete application score. I just think if the application isn't complete, then we shouldn't review it until it is complete. And then you can move that bonus score to replace that in the gate check section for council or city priorities. And yeah, I don't know what you guys think about that.
I'm open to that. Yeah, I was looking at the scoring criteria, and I mean, I would be open to even moving the 5 points from application is complete to making SQUIM centric 10 points.
I'd like to chime in on that. I think that some of the entities that apply with us may have services that are offered in SQUIM, but are also offered across our county. And I don't, I hesitate to add more weight to the SQUIM-centric section. Because an entity, an organization that is doing good work across the peninsula is benefiting SQUIM in the indirect sense that we all rise together as a community, as a county, and that an entity, an organization that is providing services in Port Angeles and SQUIM, maybe they don't know when they're applying for their municipal funding what percentage of their time is going to be in any one particular city. Maybe as things unfold for them in the year with whatever opportunities come, there would be yeah. So I'd hesitate to have to put more weight on that. I think that hopefully that as the criteria is shared out there with the application front and center, right up at the front, that folks would know all of these specific stipulations. And yeah, I think that getting too concerned about the SQUIM-centric nature of their programming would be a mistake.
Thank you. And I do provide an educational webinar that I post on our website, walking them through the application process, the annual report process, our guidelines, and I would add the scoring rubric to that as well. So they will have an opportunity to view that webinar before they apply.
I assume the SQUIM centric referred to like the deliverable they're asking for funding for, and not just like generally what they do. Which is why I'd be fine with adding more weight into the SQUIM centric.
Well, and as Mayor, I mean, you probably already know that this is not SQUIM boundaries, but school district, right? So it's way out in the county, both directions.
It's Miller Peninsula to Deer Park, to put that in reference.
Yeah, I think Harmony, I hear what you're saying, and I agree that it, the rising tide rises the whole harbor sort of an idea. I can imagine a scenario, I try and put things in scenarios, at least in my head, where a agency such as OLICAP, which serves a larger area, is not necessarily SQUIM centric, could apply and make their deliverable that we're interested in the warming center that they host here in SQUIM. So that would be important to me rather than helping OLICAP with their general funding from Jefferson County out to Forks, sort of thing. That makes sense? That would make that a more SQUIM-centric application.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And as we're reviewing the applications, I think naturally, organically, we're going to look at what people say they're going to be doing with the money. We're going to be like, oh, that's definitely going to directly benefit our community. And I'm just trying to express that I don't think we need to get too caught up in the specifics about the organization itself. But I see what you're saying about how the deliverable would be the piece here. So maybe we're just lacking some specificity on the criteria document. There we go.
I can absolutely make that amendment with SQUIM centric, maybe a parentheses behind it stating deliverables.
Is the intent on the points column for that to be up to 5 points, up to 10 points?
That is up to council. I did not intend for it to be a point range. If they did not meet expectations, it would be 0 points. I know that seems harsh, but that's also in order to aid in the scoring process. In my research, that was kind of what was presented. When you get into things like ranges, it's more subjective and leaves more room for public discord, I will say, versus if it's you meet it, yes, or you don't meet it, no.
Well, then I think the aligning with council priorities could just be a 5 then, just to make it easy, because otherwise it kind of suggests there's a range.
Yes, I'm sorry. The optional bonus is the only one that has that range. And it's how well they align with council priorities. If you'd like to remove the range, I can do that, but that was the one exception. And we did try to make this scoring criteria, as you see, and it laid out in that Word document, very specific to yes or no. There's not kind of multiple ways that they can meet it or not meet it. And so we were very intentional going through that, making sure that each scoring criteria was either a yes or a no, they met or they didn't, to make that scoring as easy as possible.
And just looping back around to this moves us so much further down the road than we were back in July. And I don't doubt that as we get into it and we experience it and we're actually looking at real applications and real processes, we'll find other things that we want to
Absolutely.
tweak and adjust.
Mhm.
And so giving us, headspace to do that rather than thinking we need to make it just really screw it down tight tonight.
There's several major things in here where we're asking them to meet with them, and they've not had that, invitation quite so much. We've done a little encouragement that way, but this will be really helpful to have a complete application, and deliverables that we help them craft to make sure it meets criteria. So I think you're exactly right. I think the scoring, the process, the applications, everything will be much different going forward, and still need some room for improvement over time.
I kind of wanted to just talk through the items on the the score 1 through 5 list that you gave us over here.
On the needing council guidance.
Mm-hmm. For the first one, if an application does not meet funding criteria, is it automatically rejected, or would council still like to review it? I think I would like to know who applies. I think that we should be aware of all the applications that come through. That's my thought on number 1.
I would agree, at least knowing, I would leave it to at least legal to determine if it meets those 2 categories of whether or not it meets the criteria, but at least let us know who applied.
Staff are, if that's what council would like, staff can fill out that pre-clearance, either yes or no, and present all the applications. Okay.
Having said that, though, I think it could possibly benefit the applicant if the decision is made right from the beginning that they're not meeting, in our opinion, they're not meeting a certain criteria, and they get that feedback and they're given an opportunity to better understand the criteria and perhaps make an acceptable appeal rather than waiting and we don't know, they don't know that we're already prejudging that. So
Like getting their application and then telling them up front, hey, you don't meet the criteria based on our requirements for reporting. You can fix that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm supportive of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, are you looking more like it didn't meet in terms of like broad pub,
Yeah, one of our 2 funding paths, either broad public benefit or
Yeah.
health and human services.
yeah, if they didn't meet those 2, but at least, I leave that up to staff, but at least let us know that somebody applied but didn't meet it.
Will they even be able to finish filling out the application if it doesn't fit one of those paths?
It depends on the argument that they make. You can make a whole host of arguments for broad public benefit. And so it would really depend on the argument that they would make. They would have to make a selection, either broad public benefit or health and human services, in order to complete the application, because that would be required. Yes.
Apologies for my tardiness. That was one of my questions on the application. Are we defining that or showing where that's defined? Is it defined under state law?
Thank you. That is defined under state law. That is language developed by our legal team based off of the state law.
No, it's not defined under state law. Then you guys used a definition based on your understanding of state law.
I believe it's tied to an RCW.
Okay. When we use things like that, because also in the application, and again, sorry for being late, when we reference a federal or state law, it's really important that we cite it in the document so people can look it up. I don't know if that's come up yet. But I know if I'm applying for a grant and it says you have to follow these laws, I'm going to go look at those laws and make sure I'm following them before I finish my application. So I think for both the definition and where we talked about, sorry, it was hard to put notes on these documents because it was all squares. It says the city of Sequim is, is prohibited by federal and Washington state law from providing public resources for private purposes or gifting public funds. We should be citing what laws we're referring to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't remember if I cite it on our website. I will double check and make sure that it's also cited in our application. And if it's not on our website as well.
Do y'all feel about 1 year versus 2 years?
Well,
I don't think we've done number 2
yeah,
yet.
I was going to say, shall we, let's go to number 2 on the list, cap on
I
request
thought-
amounts.
Oh, good idea. Okay.
It sounded like there was a consensus for.
So what I had is that you would like staff to fill out the pre-clearance, yes or no. And all applicants are presented to council. If applicants get their application into me with enough time, I can absolutely let them know if they've met the pre-clearance or not, give them time to amend their application or their deliverables. But if they don't give me enough time, I'll just mark yes or no, and all applications are presented to council, was my understanding.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
Sounds good to me. All right, number 2, I had a hard time with, just because SHHC is a really good example how they are a vast organization encompassing vast organizations, really. And so like to say that all applicants can request $100,000 based on their budgets, right? And what they're really asking for. It was kind of, how am I trying to say this? It made me laugh a little bit because it was like thinking about how, not funny, haha, but how funny it would be to see SHHC requesting the $100,000 cap and then like a tiny nonprofit also requesting $100,000 cap. And so it was just hard to kind of grasp around that. But that being said, also understanding that whatever they request may not entirely be funded. So like with our ones that we're doing for 2026, people agencies requested certain amounts, but some of them we had to say, we want to be able to give everybody a little something. So you're not getting the full amount, but you're getting some. That all being said, I would really like to cap it just because we don't know how many applications we will get in the future and for how much. And I think in my head, the only way, I'm not sure fair is the word, but like because SHHC is requesting $100,000, then other organizations should be able to have that cap, but other people can totally disagree with that. I think just having that, saying like, here's our cap, but just know that you might not be given that whole cap, because if our general cap ends up being $250,000, right, then we can't award, if we get 8 applicants and then we say, well, we're going to give 3 of them $300,000, that goes over our general cap. So it's a lot of like caveats of like, here's our cap, but
And there's a lot of language written into our guidelines and our application that council makes all final funding determinations, and that the budget availability could be changed year to year based off of unforeseen budget circumstances. So we have tried to provide legal language to support council decisions on amending funding requests.
And I was kind of thinking about it from the opposite way. I would really think it'd be important to know how much they need to do their project. And then you guys, again, because I won't be here, will be citing how much you can afford to fund of that, because I think it's really important to understand what we're funding is how much we can fund. We're not saying we don't believe in your project. We're trying to figure out. So it'd be really good for them to like break out what the cost of their project is. And also, if they're already investing something into it, if they have some kind of investment into the work they're doing, I think is really important to see too.
I would agree with that one.
I like that, Vicky.
And I think it's self-limiting anyway, because if there's already language in there that we are limiting it to the 1.5%, and then we don't know how many applications we're going to get in. So somebody could shoot for the moon and request $200 and something thousand, and maybe they're the only applicant and they get it. But if you've got 4 outstanding applicants and we want to make the decision to split it up or prioritize them, we could do that too, but it's always going to be subject to the 1.5.
The way the questions are organized, I'm kind of tracking with what you're saying as well. We're not soliciting I don't see anywhere where we're soliciting their overall budget. We're just
Not their overall budget, but we do have a table that will populate if they say that they are additional funding sources. They have additional funding sources for this project. They'll be able to put in those funding sources and the amounts that they've obtained.
Okay. And I was just, thank you. That probably answers my question, because I was wondering in our proposed budget section in the application, if there could be another box that would be basically, if we did come up with a limit, that would be basically this is how you plan to use the money if we can give you the full amount. And then a box that's saying the part of our project that would be unfunded. So it gives us an insight into a little bit of what you were saying, Vicky, a little bit of an insight into what won't happen if we put a $50,000 limit on. Then fine, fill out this form based on how you're going to use the 50,000, but let us know how much more you could use if for a deliverable. And then it gives us that data. If we do only have 1 or 2 applications, we can swing back around. That may be way more complicated than it needs to be.
I've had grants where I rate a proposed budget for the cap that they have, and then I also submit a full budget for the whole cost of the project. So that's not unheard of.
Okay.
I also am uncomfortable with putting a cap on the amount of funds that the applicant can request.
Just in case you're also was referring to my comment, I wasn't suggesting it. I was suggesting that we suggest a cap.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
well,
we should get a
okay.
count to Heather or
sorry,
something. It's hard to,
Yeah.
to
Okay.
know.
I will, my apologies, I misunderstood. Okay. Well, I think that,
In line with what Vicky was saying and Nicole.
No cap.
We need to communicate that there is a probable limit because we have this 1.5 and we have multiple.
correct,
But we
yes.
also want to know the total cost of your project. So I don't know, my comments were meant to be sort of a hybrid of the two rather than a binary yes or no. If that makes any sense.
Okay.
Yes, so we have an option for a no cap, we have an option for a cap, and we have Dan's option of a cap, but you also receive their full project budget. So that if there is remaining funds, we can potentially amend the award amount to be over the cap. So 3 options.
I guess my question, because I like the last option of being able to see everything, but then we are suggesting a cap in that sense. So I would just want to know before I agree or disagree. I'd want to know what that cap would be. Are we talking like 50,000? Or are we talking 100,000? So it's just dependent on.
Yeah, I had not thought that through clearly, but just intuitively, I'm thinking 50,000. That was sort of the number that was in my head, but I wouldn't want to justify why I thought that and not something else.
Right.
And to be clear, I think I agreed with Nicole that the 1.5% is kind of the cap. And after the process we went through this last time, it is very limiting. Did I understand you right, Nicole? You weren't thinking a cap per project?
No, just the 1.5%. And then they can ask for what they need for their project and they may not, they just know from her description on there that they may not receive it depending on the funds available.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so from what I'm understanding, we are not putting a cap on the amount of funds each recipient or application is allowed to submit for.
Correct.
Thank you. And we are also not asking for their full project budget, just their proposed budget, whatever they choose to submit for that. Okay. Number 3, do we want to put a percentage of how much of their service should be within the SQUIM school district boundary line to make this SQUIM centric? And what percentage do we want that to be if we want it?
I did have a question about that just because I was either I couldn't remember or a little unclear about organizations like OLICAP or SHHC where they have organizations within it, but those organizations might also service like General Fallon County and or PA or Port Townsend. And so I guess I need a clarification on do we know that when SHHC receives funding or any organization that could service multiple jurisdictions, they do reserve that funding for SQUIM citizens? I think that's what I'm asking.
So in writing grants, you
Yeah.
do have to specify what you're going to spend that grant funding on. And if it's your restrictive grants, for instance, you can only spend it on this thing. They do have to track that thing and then write a report to that effect. If you wanted that thing to be, their deliverable had to be within a certain percentage of the SQUIM school district boundary line to make it SQUIM centric, that would be what they track and allocate the funding towards. It's a very common practice with grant writing and grant recipients.
So I would think all of it then, right?
And that's ideally it's SQUIM funding. So I would like to see 100% of that funding going to SQUIM citizens.
Their deliverable has to be 100% within the SQUIM school district boundary line.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Any other comments regarding that? Are we in agreement of that? I think I have 2 yeses. Dan, okay, great. Thank you.
And for clarity, it is 100% in the SQUIM school district. I think you said that, but I
Boundary
just
line.
want,
Mhm,
yeah, the whole boundary line.
Yes. And that's very specific in the application, as well as the scoring criteria.
Did we have any this last time around that didn't fit in that box?
I'm sorry?
Did we have any, I'm trying to jog my memory from the applications we had this last time around.
Yes, we did.
We had some that did not fall within the SQUIM school district. Could you give an example?
We had both. So because our deliverables were still, it was still kind of a flex year because we were still adopting our online application. We had certain agencies like SHHC that does encompass OLICAP. And I think they said like 75% of their services were going to fall within the SQUIM school district boundary line. And then you have other agencies, I think the majority that said 100% of their services would be within the SQUIM school district boundary line.
Okay, well, so then I'm sorry, but this sounds like we're the SQUIM Health and Housing Collaborative was created by the City Council, and with this specific item, we're going to be penalizing them.
So
We're not going to be prioritizing their application. It's an entity that we created, and they're working with organizations that serve the greater Clallam County
yeah.
community, and they're there to help make sure that those funds and those organizations are, even though they are countywide, that the people that entity is making sure that that funnel is coming back to SQUIM. So I don't feel comfortable with this.
For a little bit of clarification, the City of SQUIM and SQUIM Council did not form SHHC. They formed themselves as a nonprofit agency to respond to an RFP that we had submitted out. And yes, I think the clarification of why they weren't 100%, again, it was kind of a flex year for the new online application in which we had asked that question in the past, but we had not specified that the range of service needed to be within a certain percentage.
And Maren, aren't all of the entities in SHHC in SQUIM? I think United
All of
Way,
them
who
have a
admitted,
presence in SQUIM.
yeah, they all have a presence here, and United
Yeah.
Way is the only one that's
So it would just be focusing their deliverable in
yeah,
SQUIM,
yeah. I think that's
which I think they
That's
could easily do.
easily do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You only
Because the
gotta-
majority of the entities are SQUIM only.
Right.
I think only 2 of their entity, PBH and OLICAP, go outside of SQUIM.
And the way that collaborative works is the money goes to United Way, who then just decides amongst themselves how to divvy it up amongst themselves based on their needs, I think. Isn't that right?
They establish a budget, but it's split between each of the agencies pretty evenly.
So then what we're doing is we're creating a new paradigm, a new type of application wherein the SQUIM Health and Housing Collaborative fills out this application with very SQUIM specific deliverables.
Yes.
So any application, it's a non-issue basically.
It should
I
be,
think I
yeah.
see what you're saying.
It just needed clarification, yeah.
Yep. Oh.
So
We only got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Can we get through 2 of them real quick?
For award terms, are we wanting to keep 1-year award terms going? Oh, I'm so sorry. 1 year? 1 year, 1 year. Okay, thank
Sorry,
you.
I heard quick and I was like, okay.
I apologize.
No, you're
And
fine.
then do we want to establish any kind of scoring threshold? They have to meet a minimum score in order to move forward to council. It seems like no, you want to see all of the applications. Was that, you want to see all of the applications, no minimum score?
Yeah, I mean, we do want to see the list of the applications. And I was just going to comment on part B there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the total score aligning with the percentage of the ward so much as I see the total score helps us prioritize the applicants.
Right.
Thank
yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
So no scoring threshold. The last thing is, I'm so sorry, Vicky.
On the award terms,
Yes.
did you guys already discuss that? Oh,
It was,
because
I,
in the current process, then in January you apply, and in June it closes, and then your funding starts in January, and as soon as you get your funding, you have to start the application process again for the next year.
Yes, you would have the full 6 months to resubmit a new application.
You guys okay with that?
I'm okay with that. I think that my reasoning would be if we chose the 2-year term, then I mean, not saying it's a bad thing or not. It's easy to do. Just if we say a 2-year term and saying you get $50,000 year 1 and you get $50,000 year 2, then that whole amount would then get deducted from year 2's total 1.5% cap. But what if I guess my concern is that we fund this whatever thing, we fund a thing for a year, and then when they come back with their deliverables, it's not what they intended, or it's not what we were hoping it would be. And so I would just prefer it on a 1-year basis to be able to see how it's doing. Does that make sense?
I get
Very
that.
little amount of money. We're asking for a lot.
Yeah.
From
I'm concerned that we don't know how much money will be available the subsequent year, and that just being able to budget for the 1 year based on the budget that we have is
I think
probably
contracts do have language about if the fund is not available, that
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We have that the budget availability is subject year to year based on unforeseen budget circumstances. And we also have language that says council makes all final funding determinations.
However, there is perceptions that once awarded, they even, you have to point out the fine print. So there's some expectations and frustration or disappointment or whatever adjective you want to put with it. So, yep, you have the flexibility, but there is a perception.
I'm fine with 1, honestly.
So since we're about out of time, what I'll do is I'll put the last question. I'll move to put it on the general business. That way we can finish this up. So, but if there's nothing else, we'll just go at recess and we'll reconvene at 6 o'clock for our regularly scheduled meeting. So we're at recess.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead and call us to order. Sequim City Council, first order of business is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if the city clerk will do statement of coexistence first. The city that we know as So Chi Wing was once inhabited solely by the first peoples known as the New Scalam people, represented by the three tribal governments, Jamestown Scalam, Port Gamble Scalam, and Lower Elwha Clallam. Of these three sister tribes, the Jamestown Scalam tribe takes the lead in relationships with the city of Sequim, while including the two sister tribes as determined by the tribes. We, the Sequim City Council, and our partner, the Jamestown Scalam tribe, value coexisting respectfully and responsibly together for the purpose of stewarding the people, lands, and institutions that serve us. Our governments do not work alone in isolation, but care for each other's communities. With enlightened awareness of the local history of this area, we commit to a continued partnership and collaboration as two sovereigns. This statement of coexistence and government-to-government relationship is a respect to the Scalam people and their history. And if the city clerk, please take roll call.
Counselor Kelly Berger.
Here.
Counselor Dan Butler.
Here.
Counselor Vicky Lowe.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Rachel Anderson.
Present.
Mayor Brandon Janice.
Present.
Counselor Harmony Rudder.
Here.
And Counselor Nicole Hartman.
Here.
All right, approval of the final agenda. Move to add item 10D, the municipal funding criteria continuation.
I motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Anything further? Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved as amended. All right, no ceremonial this evening, so we'll go ahead and move on to public comment. And as this is a limited public forum, individuals providing public comment must not disrupt or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of the meeting. And this is not a forum for hate speech. The city of Sequim supports the public's First Amendment right to free speech, but it does not support hate speech. And speakers are expected to be courteous and refrain from making hateful comments, sounds, or remarks. And any offensive words and conduct shared by the public do not reflect the city's values. And the city of Sequim stands firm in its commitment to be an inclusive community and rejects discrimination of any kind. And there is a public comment for a public hearing. So just if you're here to speak on that, but signed up for this public comment period, they are separate, just so that you guys know. So you're speaking on the correct one. City Clerk.
For individuals attending in person, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. In a moment, I will collect the public comment sign-in sheet. No one has signed up to provide remote public testimony to our comment tonight. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak on any topic, and there will be a timer visible on the screen. A total of 30 minutes or 10 speakers will be permitted for public comment. When your name is called, please state your name if you are representing an organization and your city of residence. And our first speaker tonight is Chris Glasspool.
Hi, I guess you can hear me. My name's Chris Glasspool. I am speaking tonight on the 600 homes along the Sequim Bay that's proposed. I moved here 3 years ago from Chelan. I'm not going to do the speaking points here because I think you've heard them and everybody will probably repeat them maybe, but I don't know, hopefully not. But so in Chelan, the same developer, it was, what's his name, Casey Roloff. And I don't know if Ted Schroth is part of this, but he was with the Chelan. It was much the same. It was 85 acres, 300 homes, vacation, rentals, homes, that sort of thing. It changed the whole community, was not good. Lots of traffic. The people who come, locals called it Whoville. It wasn't a good situation. It doesn't look to me to be a good place there. It's a nice natural place. I don't even understand the planning. But that's aside from the point. This is not a good venture. That's really my point tonight. And thank you.
And our next speaker, Rose Marshall.
I'm also here to talk about the Seabrook development, and I want to thank you for the moratorium. And I gave you copies of the 1,300 and plus signatures that are against that development there, and that has been sent to John Wayne Enterprises to also, and Seabrook. And I would like you to, whatever you can do, not go through with the permit for technical reasons or whatever. The people here do not want that development. I've asked John Wayne Marina to turn it into a park if they want to do anything, where you'd have 10 cars if you're lucky, and the roads. But the traffic would be atrocious. 600 developments, most homes have 2 cars. So let's whittle it down. 6 times 2 would be 1,200 cars coming up White Feather Road and the West Squim Bay Road, which is single roads. It's just not a good idea. It's bad planning. And and you can turn it down 1,000 cars. And then all the water stuff. I've been told there is water available and all. I don't know that I trust any of that. I know 2 people had their wells dropped when they were piped. And so I just want to thank you for the moratorium. I want you to continue it as long as you can. And you should be aware the citizens of this city do not want this. Thank you.
Virginia Sjogren.
Thank you. Virginia Sjogren, Squim. I am here in opposition to the Seabrook West Bay development as well. The West Bay project's high-density development of up to 600 lots with approximately 650 units threatens to exacerbate water shortages in the Dungeness River Basin. Squim's aquifers are already facing chronic shortages. This is due in no small part to 66 miles of unregulated water pipeline construction. The pipelines destroyed much of Squim's ditch system in a rain shadow region that is known for its lack of rainfall. In 2008, the city studied the impact of those pipelines and found that they are causing an adverse impact on aquifer recharge for existing residents who rely on over 5,000 exempt wells in the region. The addition of approximately 650 residential units could increase water demand by an estimated 130 to 195,000 gallons per day. This risks depleting our already damaged groundwater aquifers. I'm also concerned that the project appears to be based upon an incomplete traffic impact analysis and the reliance on unbuilt sewer infrastructure. The project's approximate 650 units could generate 5,000 to 6,500 daily vehicle trips. This would overwhelm US 101 and local roads near John Wayne Marina, such as West Squim Bay Road. I am concerned that the habitat disruption to Johnson Creek for the coho salmon, federally listed under ESA, and disruption to the Pitship Pocket Estuary from stormwater runoff, construction, and impervious services. The proposed development encroaches on buffers for critical areas. I am also concerned about the loss of public waterfront access and alteration of approximately 90 acres of shoreline jurisdiction near the marina. Even assuming the current moratorium is lifted, the public will be watching the SEPA process for this project very closely. If the SEPA checklist omits or understates any of these issues or the cumulative strain, an EIS will be needed in order to model the total impacts and alternatives. Thank you very much.
Jenny Pettit.
Good evening. I'm Jenny Pettit, representing the Sequim Sister City Association, and I live in Sequim. And first of all, it's been 2 weeks since we welcomed the delegates from our sister city, Shiso, in Japan. And the 4 days that they spent here were absolutely wonderful and successful due to the wonderful community welcome and spirit and friendliness of our city. During their time, it was very noteworthy that we had a chance to, of course, visit the schools, have exchanges of education and culture with numerous citizens of the city, but also that we had a meeting where we exchanged ideas on how we move forward since things got sort of stopped after the COVID situation. And I'm very happy to report that we were very much aligned in what we would like to do going forward, which is to restart exchanges between especially our student population, but not limited to them, adults also, and our sister city of Shiso. This would be a 3-year cycle, starting with firstly an online exchange in January of next year, followed by the following year, 5 students going from Sequim to Shiso with 3 chaperones. And then the following year, the exchange from Shiso to Sequim, same 5 students and 3 chaperones. So this 3-cycle framework would be our target picture going forward. And I would like to request a letter of support from the city of Sequim to go forward with this framework. And that's my comment for this evening. Thank you.
Christine Paulson.
Christine Paulson, and I live right here in Sequim. And I'm here to talk about John Wayne Marina too. I have been here 37 years, and I have raised 3 children here. My youngest, who is 30, is trying to find some place to live, and she is not finding any affordable housing at all. What Sequim needs is affordable housing, not a gated community, where homes cost anywhere from over $800,000 to over $1 million. How is that going to benefit the people in this community, the young families? The people that provide the services that you ask for are done by people with families. I owned a service business for over 25 years while we were raising our children. Thank goodness that my ex-husband was a pioneering family and we already had a place to live. Right now, people coming in can't even afford a rent. If you allow this to come in, these 600 homes, I went to the first meeting where the gentleman was speaking, and I asked him about affordable housing. And his idea about affordable housing was putting in ADUs in the backyards of some of these homes. And he said they would be mostly for the people that were going to work at the stores and the businesses in his area, but maybe not open to community members here. How does that help us? I found that gentleman to be extremely rude when asked about people with disabilities, how they were supposed to move around since he only wanted small amounts of cars. His comment back to this older woman who happened to have a cane was, you know the old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it. Is that the type of individual that we want to be doing business with when we have an entire community of people that are aging, people that are handicapped, people that use walkers to get around, that use canes? I myself had a walker and a cane for quite some time. It is not something that you ask to put upon yourself. But this gentleman was extremely rude and dismissive. I don't want that type of person building things in my area. I want affordable housing for my kids. I want them to be able to buy land or buy a house. That is what the city needs. Please, affordable housing for our families. Say no to 600 homes in a gated community. Thank you very much.
Richard Marshall.
Hi, I've lived here since 1990, 35 years. And something that I do for business purposes, I live closer, very close to Sequim, is once a week, I walk the city limits of Sequim for a different reason, a business reason. And I've watched recently in the last few years, the homes come up on Sequim Avenue down there. You got those manufactured homes. You got the homes off of 7th Avenue, whole bunch of those going up. None of them are low income homes. And I really appreciate what the previous person said about that, because, you know, what are we about in this community? Are we just about rich people? I hope not. I hope some of you guys see that. And these people are rude. They have no concept. I mean, are the developers paying for the widening of 101 coming into Sequim so that those 650 homeowners with 2 cars can get supplies? I mean, that's ridiculous. The whole thing is crazy. At least the homes that we are going up right now off of Sequim Avenue and off of 7th, and there's quite a few of them, and you know, people haven't purchased them yet, are within the city limits and they're close by. But that's enough to continue to clog up, you know, the Sequim roads in times when, you know, like 5 p.m. and stuff like that. So, yeah, I agree with Virginia and Rose and the gal right before me, and the first person that saw what they did to his community in Eastern Washington. I mean, that's just nuts. So please reconsider or do whatever you can to stop this project. It's just nuts.
And that concludes public comment.
Thank you for everybody that spoke this evening. All right, moving on to item 8. This will be a public hearing. And the subject of this public hearing is the 2025 year-end budget amendments and ordinance authorizing unforeseen expenditures. And I will go ahead and open the public hearing and turn over to city staff.
Good evening, City Council and community. For the record, Sue Hagener, your Finance Director. And tonight is the second formal touch and public hearing on the 2025 year-end budget amendments. All of these items have come before you at a prior meeting, whether we discussed it as we were talking about our financial condition as of the middle of the year, and actually is included in some of the materials you have here that we'll be talking about later tonight. So hopefully you're pretty familiar with those materials. Nothing has changed in the materials since we had our first formal touch at the first meeting in October. I can't believe it's October. In general, well, I should say nothing has changed in the items that we're presenting to you, except for the fact that after the materials were presented to you on October, the first meeting in October, we had kind of a change in course and pivoted on what we wanted to do or not do with the Civic Center second floor remodel. So we originally had a project on the books for the second floor remodel. What came to light soon after preparing my materials is that we wanted to prioritize getting staff proper shelter, proper office space, proper storage for those staff that actually don't work in the Civic Center. So we're tabling the second floor remodel for as we kind of work out the details of how we're going to address the folks out at the shop where we've got equipment and men and women that are uncovered and unprotected from the elements. And we are still intending to address some security issues upstairs. Don't know what those plans look like. Like I say, we're kind of tabling everything. We're taking a breath and we're pivoting to see how we can address what has become a bigger priority out in the city shop property. Other than that, nothing else has changed from the prior materials. We are essentially rolling forward unused fund balance from last year in many cases. And we are using those funds to help pay for projects that weren't completed in prior years that are getting completed now, as well as unanticipated expenditures like software subscriptions or our WCIA annual insurance assessment, which we've talked about in detail. With that, I'm just here to answer any additional questions. I will ask that we do need 5 members of council to approve this in order for it to pass. And we are certainly hoping that you do so tonight so that we have got wiggle room to finish out the rest of the year in great shape. And thank you for listening.
Questions from council? All right. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to public comments. Is there anybody signed up?
And no one has signed up for public comment.
All right. I'll just open up. Does anybody wish to make public comment? All right. Seeing none.
I just want to take a moment to thank Sue. I think, again, your narratives, your write-ups are so easy to understand and follow, and I really appreciate it. You really bring a level of excellence to our finances, so thank you.
Thank you.
Since there is no public comment this evening, I'll go ahead and close that, and I will go ahead and, is there any further council discussion on this? I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we'll move to public action or council action.
I move to approve the ordinance adopting the 2025 budget amendments.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Anything further? Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion will pass. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
All right, consent agenda.
Items on tonight's consent agenda: claim vouchers totaling $1,317 and $1,317,681.81. City Council meeting minutes from October 13, 2025. Flora's Acres Water System Consolidation Grant and the River Road Overlay Project Local Agency Agreement Supplement Number 1.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Anything further? Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion will pass. All right, Sue staying up here for general business Q3. Oh.
Did you want to move 10D up?
That okay with council? Everybody fine with that? Okay, Maren wants to. No, I want to make Maren stay till the end. All right, Maren.
she can drive me home because I blind as a bat at night.
My husband with our 3 children thanks you. So, thank you, Council. Good evening, Marin Packer, Executive Assistant. I'm here as a continuation of our work session that we had done to discuss the municipal funding scoring criteria for the 2026 applicants. If you give me just a moment, I'll share my screen and we can continue with council direction and guidance. And I can also sum up some of the decisions that we have since made. Regarding the municipal funding application, we have decided from the scoring criteria, we would like to remove is application complete and instead give those 5 points to SQUIM centric, making it a total of 10 points possible in that section or just for that question. I also have direction that I'm going to amend SQUIM centric with parentheses to say deliverables after it to make it more clear that the deliverables need to be SQUIM-centric, which we decided is 100% of the services they provide are within the SQUIM school district boundary lines. I am also going to amend our website and our application to cite the RCW. I'm sorry, Vicki, yes?
Can you clarify that 100% of the services they provide
for the
in
deliverables?
total or just for the grant?
Just for the deliverables, of the application, just for the goals of the municipal funding, what they want to spend it on. I'm also going to cite the RCW about our funding categories, meaning broad public benefit and health and human services on our website, as well as our application. We decided that with number 1, staff will fill out the pre-clearance if it's a yes, they fit a funding category, or if it's a no, they don't fit. And all applications, whether they fit or not, will be presented to council. For number 2, we decided that there will be no cap for funding requested amounts, keeping that 1.5% general fund cap. For question number 3, it's 100% of the services associated with the deliverables need to be provided within the SQUIM school district boundary. For question number 4, we have decided that we're only moving forward with 1-year award terms. We will not be offering 2. And we had generally discussed question number 5, and we decided that we did not want a scoring threshold to apply to the scoring criteria. Do I have all of that correct, or is there further discussion needed on those?
Sounds like a good summary to me. Thank you, Marin.
Thank you. The last item that needs some clarification is just the pre-clearance, the scoring review. There are 3 options for that review: a staff option, in which staff reviews, scores, and presents to council; combination option, in which staff reviews and scores sections 1, 2, and 5 of the scoring criteria; council reviews and scores sections 3 and 4 plus the bonus; staff aggregates the scores and presents to council; and option 3 is the council option, in which council reviews and scores, staff aggregates the scores and presents to council.
I'd like to prefer option 2, a combination option.
I also prefer option 2. I know that it's a lot. So I was kind of option 1 or option 2. Option 1 is nice because it helps remove any bias and it's strictly score related. But I know that would also be a lot of time, and I feel like this has been an ongoing effort between staff and council. And so because of that, I would prefer the number 2 combo option.
Can you clarify about removing bias? Because I did have a question about that.
Just because in a lot of other scoring criteria things that I've been a part of, there have been times where scorers try and give a higher score for reasons that don't pertain to the application or pertain to the criteria. And so just speaking from experience, really. And I feel like with staff, there isn't that much pressure put on them in that sense, mostly because we are so public facing, really. And yeah, just personal experience.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be option 1.
I mean, I'm liking option 1 simply because I don't know what the logistics would be of trying to have council getting together to review and score things, because you can't, and you can have a work session, but you can't take action in the work session. So it makes it somewhat complicated.
Thank you. My thought behind that was sending out the applications via email, having council independently score each applicant and sending it back to me. And then I would aggregate scores as a total, not staff score and council score separate, but as the score as a total, and then present that back to council. Hopefully that adds some clarity.
That's how I envisioned it, just because when we are able to score it independently, it's likely to get done much sooner, which would help with the timeline.
Just thinking through this, I kind of like option 2 in that it would create a really it would create a, the content that we would get back would be, again, that average, that aggregated version of the score.
And that would,
So I find value in that.
That could be true of all 3 options. We would have multiple staff reviewing applicants, not just one person, again, for removing bias, for fairness sake, those kinds of things. I think the way I would view a direct set of language and the way our legal department would view it would be very different. And so I can see different scores coming from that.
Can you talk about limiting bias through staff? I'm just very concerned because all of our conversations when we've talked about, especially people who are in-house, that there's a lot of stigma and bias. And I don't know how people are self-checking that, or, there are anti-bias trainings, there are tests you can take. I am worried, also because I won't be here, but I might be out there, that stigma and bias will sneak into the process if we're not very clear about how we're checking bias and stigma.
Thank you. From the way the scoring criteria was written, it was written very much to avoid bias. It's pretty black and white, very clear.
Well, then I have to question evidence-based, because evidence-based is biased in itself.
It's based off of the government health and human services guidelines.
The evidence-based is based on whoever the government has studied. And for communities of color, their practices are largely unstudied, so they're considered not evidence-based, but best practices and promising practices. So that concerns me right away.
Vicki, what page?
Maren, can you clarify, is that what Vicki's raising now is somewhat a received mandate? It's where.
Not necessarily. For health and human services funding, the RCW is not specific towards that. When I was reviewing sources for establishing the scoring criteria, I did rely on government sources. And Health and Human Services and the Health and Human Services Administration were 2 sources that I did rely on that did cite evidence-based practices for health and human services organizations.
I can give you an example. The healing clinic, the services that were provided there weren't considered evidence-based. They were best practices or practice-based evidence when Johns Hopkins University started using them, and then they had to become later that I don't even know if it's considered evidence-based still or if it's still a promising practice, but it is something that is healing people because it's patient-centered. So evidence-based doesn't always mean that it works for the people it's meant for, my point.
Thank you. I learned something new.
I think we should also put in some language to indicate that we would be, well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. Let me dial this back for a sec. I think that it would be really helpful if we put in some content about getting our guidance from the West Coast Healthcare Alliance.
Thank you. I was going to ask for a source as we're doing the scoring criteria. It would be helpful to have a source for guidance. I know best practices like you said, you cited Johns Hopkins. And so the West Coast Healthcare Alliance is what you said a source could be potentially.
Yes, that's the Alliance of Washington, Oregon, California, and Hawaii, who are banding together to create recommendations about health for for their communities that are based on science. Yes, exactly. So I think that would be really important designation. Granted, we are in the state of Washington, so that probably goes without saying, but I think it would be helpful to mention that we would be consulting sources from the West Coast Healthcare Alliance.
Thank you.
And I think it's fine to ask the person applying for the grant to explain if something's a best practice, but I just like to see it as added evidence-based or best practice.
Best practice. And I can amend that in the application too, because we do ask how they align with evidence-based practices. And so I can modify that to say evidence-based / best practices. If you believe that's not conflating two issues.
I don't believe that.
Thank you. I will amend that question and I will amend the sources to include the West Coast Healthcare Alliance if council agrees. Thank you.
So I'm still, my preference would be for option 2, the combination option where staff reviews and scores parts and council reviews and scores some sections. I think that would allow for a lot of input in the process, and that would be a really, I think, helpful way to try to mitigate some of the concerns. I hope that those don't become concerns. Thank you.
I'm okay with 2 as well, if it makes it easy for her to just email the applications for scoring.
Thank you.
Yeah, independent review.
Yes. Thank you. So for option 2, I want to make sure that this is incredibly clear for the scoring criteria. Staff would score the pre-clearance, the gate check, and the compliance history. And then we would ask council to score the core domain and the category-specific domain, as well as the bonus option. I would then aggregate those scores and present the results back to council for funding determinations. Thank you. I did have a clarifying question. I believe, Kelly, this was part of your comment. You had said that you would like to not move forward with incomplete applications. Do you want me to, this is if they turn in their application without enough time for me to give them feedback, do you want me to present incomplete applications to council or just send them a denial letter?
You're just asking me.
Sorry, it's more directed to council, but it was based
I
on
would
the comment
say
you brought.
just send them a denial letter because I don't know, like you apply to a college, if you send an incomplete application, they're not going to accept you, or a job, you send an incomplete application, they're not going to interview you. So I think it should be the same.
Yeah, I agree. if it's not complete. I think it would be difficult to not complete it.
Yes, it would.
So,
Thank you. And complete could also mean like a full proposed budget, those kinds of things. But hopefully, again, we give them such a long time to submit so that they have an option for me to provide feedback.
Yeah, if there's time, then they can
Mhm.
complete it,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Thank you. I believe I have all my questions answered. I'd love to review this again, just so I can make sure it's right for the consent agenda for next meeting. From the scoring criteria, we have decided that we are taking out the application complete, and we are awarding those 5 points to SQUIM centric. So for a total of 10 points for SQUIM centric. Council would like staff to award the pre-clearance. However, council is reviewing all applications. There is no cap on requests that applicants are allowed to ask for, and 100% of their deliverable-based services are expected to be within the SQUIM school district boundary. There will only be 1-year award terms moving forward and no scoring threshold. And it will be a combination review of all applications.
That sounds like a really clear summation of the conversation up to this point, and I agree. I wanted to just clarify, going back to Councillor Butler's comments earlier about applicants being able to submit their. I appreciated your approach, your blended approach. Not so much in the cap part of it, but in terms of the amount that they could request. But I thought that there was value to perhaps allow or having giving the applicant the option to submit a full budget, a full breakdown of what they're requesting and what their deliverable is. And so maybe there could be, maybe that's not a requirement for the application to be deemed complete, but we could give them the option to provide additional documentation.
Are you saying the full project or the full budget for the project that they're proposing, or their full organization budget? I apologize.
well, what did we ask for last time? Didn't we end up asking for, or did we ask for like what percentage of your full budget is this project?
I believe we were discussing if we were going to put a cap on, we would also want to see the full project budget. But since we decided not to put a cap on, we thought the proposed budget would encompass the full project. Is that what you were imagining, or? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Thank you. I will bring these items back on the consent agenda for the next meeting. Thank you, Sue.
All right, thank you. All right, 10A, Q3 2025 financial.
Oh, we're good to go. Fantastic. Okay, so today we are going to be discussing the financial results for the first 9 months of the year. So goodness me, we are 3/4 of the way through the year. Pretty good shape. We talked about the budget amendments for year end that I think is going to put us in a pretty good condition to get what we need to get done before the end of the year without going over budget. There's a couple of things that I just wanted to draw your attention to. I mentioned that our revenue and resources in the general fund are about 2% over budget. I want to clarify that a majority of that revenue is due to construction-related sales tax, as well as other kind of development-related proceeds. We tend to conservatively budget development-related revenues because they're very unpredictable. And can move significantly with the economy. But just for a picture, so construction-related sales tax is typically about only 6% of total sales tax revenues. So we're up to double of that, and we are seeing that in the number of water meters that are getting installed every day in our new developments. We're seeing that in our permitting revenues. So we're kind of floating a really nice tide right now, if you will. I wanted to thank you for approving the budget amendments to give us the room we need to get through with the year. I wanted to mention too that real estate excise taxes, you know, the real estate market can be so fickle. And, you know, you hear in the news all the time that it's slowing down and interest rates are high. But I will tell you that we've brought in about 230,000 more, or 77% more in real estate excise tax dollars than we originally budgeted. Again, it's development related, so we tend to be conservative. But that's money that you got in your pocket for future capital projects, and that's what we save it for. So that's just really positive, and it helps take the pressure off of planning for our capital projects and coming up with funding sources for the next year. And those are the types of revenues that we kind of hold on to for a rainy day or a big project when we really need it. We sort of put those in the savings account until a future day. And I also am pleased to draw your attention to the fact that Hotel Motel, which frankly was terrible for the first 3 months of the year, and we were kind of panicking there was a lot of reasons for it, but hotel motel tax, which can only be used on expenditures that put heads in beds, right? Can't be used for anything. That is now 14% more than we originally budgeted, or 57,000. And so it has rebounded really lovely from its poor performance early in the year. So those are just a couple of items that I wanted to point out to you. Number one, that we're seeing these one-time revenues come in related to development, construction, and the real estate market. All right. So I'm really just here to answer any questions, but I did want to point those specific things out to you. Any questions? I know that's a lot of materials, so my apologies.
The the dashboard presentation with the stars or asterisks is a really nice way to
So you're a picture guy.
summarize all those pages. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And you know, the ones with fewer stars stand out. It's
Yeah.
easy then to dig a little deeper in those and so on. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I would say another year of kudos, Sue, for the 8 years I've sat here, that I've never seen one of these that I've been concerned about. And any one of these with a single star, I've never been concerned because it's typically something that's not staff caused.
Yeah, and we're usually watching it like a hawk. So thank you so much, Mayor.
Anything else from council? All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, community development block grant grievance procedure. Paul.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. You've heard me speak a number of times about the Flora's Acres and what we're doing out there, try to help bring some money into that community. And by the way, Paul Busich, Public Works Director, City of Sequim. I did forget that part again, and I apologize. I think I'll owe the city clerk another $1 after that one. So, but what we have been successful doing, not only the loan from Ecology for the sewer, but Department of Health for the water, we've received CDBG from the State Department of Commerce for doing the remainder of the work we were trying to get to, which was installing curb, gutter, sidewalks, streetlights, and storm drainage on the inside of the loop. As we progressed through that, they said, well, there's two things you need to do before we can get you to the next stage. The first one is you got to have a public hearing. So we've got that scheduled for you on the 10th of November. And the second thing we have to do is we have to either show that we have a grievance process that we use on other projects, or we have to adopt one. So tonight, for your consideration, is a draft resolution that if you would accept it with no change, it'll be the final, that adopts a grievance process for people who want to voice their concerns about any project that is funded with the Department of Commerce or CDBG, basically grant fundings. It's a fairly simple grievance process. It's included in your package. I think there's really 4 or 5 substantive steps that allows the community to know that if they have concerns about any project that's funded by CDBG, they have a process to bring it forward and get it addressed in some fashion through the City Council. That's the long and the short of it tonight. As I said, the resolution is attached. I'm here to answer any questions you may have about it. And if you don't have any questions, then I ask that you move forward and adopt the resolution as presented. Thank you.
Questions? If none, there's a motion.
I'd like to move to approve the resolution to adopt grievance procedure for complaints related to CDBG funded components of the Flaura Acres project and future CBDBG funded project.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And don't make me read it.
All right, moved and seconded. Anything further? Any opposed? All right, seeing none, that motion will pass. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Council, I just want to insert a quick comment. Because for your constituents and for our legislatures, due to the multiple state departments that are providing funding for this, and it's easy to get the departments and the money and what it's going for kind of mixed up, we created a fact sheet that I think we put on your desk, and I think we've sent you an electronic one, and we'll put that on our website as well, so that you don't have to try to remember these numbers and how it's going. It was a really beautiful thing seeing the county and the state and the city all come together, but now you have the details and can explain that to your constituents. Thank you.
All right, item C, multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. Carla.
All right, so good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Carla Boughton, and I'm the interim DCED Director, and I'm here tonight with Megan Euchre, our resource analyst, to present to you the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan and any questions that you might have on it. We do have a short PowerPoint to just walk you through it, kind of the process. So next, just our introductory slide here. So tonight, what you have is a resolution that approves or adopts, the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan for Clallam County, which includes all of the Clallam County jurisdictions. And tonight's presentation is just a short few slides to highlight the purpose of the plan and the process that the plan went through prior to arriving to tonight's consideration by the council. So the plan matters because it provides a framework that identifies the hazards and mitigations, natural hazards, and then mitigation strategies for all the Clallam County jurisdictions. It's required by FEMA and the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. It's important because it ensures eligibility for federal hazard mitigation funding, and it does update the city's the Clallam County's 2019 multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, which the city has adopted. The importance to the community, similar to why it matters, is that it addresses local risks and evaluates them, provides a vulnerability assessment to the region as a whole, and then to each jurisdiction for earthquakes, flooding, wildfire, drought, and utility outages. It supports the regional coordination of all of Column County jurisdictions and shared resources. Of course, it strengthens community planning, resilience, maintains our eligibility for the FEMA grants, enhances safety and preparedness, and supports infrastructure and land use planning. So the plan was developed by Column County was the lead agency with the effort of, or was the lead agency on the effort, and had a consultant-led process, which included a multi-agency team that included a number of city staff, and that began in 2023. The county and their consultant did a number of public outreach through surveys, open houses, and other outreach efforts. The risk assessment and mitigation strategies that are included in Volume 2 were developed collaboratively. And then FEMA does have required that this plan get updated every 5 years, or if needed in between those time periods. So FEMA's role in all of this is it sets the regulatory requirements for these plans. It reviews and approves them for compliance, and then does require adoption of them to, again, ensure grant eligibility. So the city's role in this was that they participated, a number of staff members participated in planning and developed the jurisdiction-specific annex. Megan represented the city's consistent participation from beginning to end throughout the process. And the city's role is also responsible for implementing the mitigation strategies that are identified in the Volume 2. That is multi-departmental and can be implemented through programmatic capital improvement plans or budget. And then the final piece is that it needs to adopt, the city needs to adopt this multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. So the key recommendations that are in the SQUIM Annex, and I just wanted to, this is the second to the last slide, so we're almost done here. But if you had a chance to go in, and I know that those 2 volumes were very long and had a lot in them. So hopefully you were able to at least peek to Volume 2, which had the City of SQUIM Annex. And the term annex just represents the city jurisdiction. And in there is a list of the mitigation strategies. You probably saw that there was some that were kind of carryovers from the 2019 plan, and then there was a number of new mitigations that were developed out of this recent process. And so a couple of the examples I just put on the slide for highlight, but there was, again, 29 different actions. So some examples were the new fuel station at Public Works to ensure emergency resilience during, a response, staff training for seismic assessments, identification for backup generators. But again, there's many more and different mitigation strategies that are identified for the city of SQUIM, but also all of the other cities were in there as well. And so you probably saw that there was some overlap between the needs for the different jurisdictions. All right, so our recommendation is to adopt the resolution for the reasons presented in this PowerPoint for compliance with the FEMA regulations and to ensure grant eligibility. In your packet is the draft resolution that this was provided to us as a template from Column County and FEMA, so it meets FEMA's requirements. And then also for your reference was the Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan Volume 1 and 2, but those are also posted on Column County's website and will remain there. So if you ever in the future want to reference it, you can find it on Column County's website. And then also just for your reference was the resolution passed by the Board of County Commissioners and then the FEMA approval of the hazard mitigation plan. So with that, that concludes my formal presentation, and Megan and I are happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Questions?
Thanks for investing the time and making the presentation. This is the sort of thing that sometimes can sort of fly by on a consent agenda item. but it feels to me like this is a really important intersection of bureaucracy and public awareness and so on, because of the impact, the catastrophic impact of any of these events actually happening. So yeah, thank you for doing that and for spending the time with us to sort of get this a little bit more highlighted for the public. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And I think it, represents that many hours of participation by all jurisdictions in the development of this plan.
I think we got a great deal, return on our investment, because it was multi-jurisdictional. And I do want to call out Megan for a lot of meetings. They invited and encouraged administration to be a part of it early on, to meet the consultant and to get the scope and whatnot. But shortly thereafter, most of us dropped off and were kind of supposed to. But Megan was our representative and really hung in there and understands this really deep. And so I want to publicly thank her.
Yeah, and thank you, City Manager Hewish. And I also want to add that this document did provide a foundational document for the climate and resiliency chapter of the comprehensive plan. So you'll see some snippets of it, not all of it, but important pieces when you see the comprehensive plan, and not too long. In the climate chapter, you'll a lot of it was informed by the hazard mitigation plan.
I did hear you say that this will live on the Clallam County website. I wonder if it would be worth having someplace where on our website that points to it, so that people that are in SQUIM are not having to go to maybe a less familiar website to search for it.
We can provide links to the hazard mitigation plan site on Clallam County. I think that's a great idea. We can take a look at making that happen.
Particularly highlight that second part that would be specific to people that are in our constituency. Thank you. With that, I'd like to move that we waive second touch on this matter and further move to approve the resolution adopting a 2024 multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update for Clallam County and the City of SQUIM's annexed hazard mitigation plan.
I would like to second that and also echo that it was very comforting to read this document, because it sounds like we're overthinking it and getting as prepared as we possibly can. So thank you very much.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Anything further from council? Any opposed? All right, seeing none, that motion will pass. Thank you. All right, no info, only youth liaisons.
For purposes of the record, this is Layla Sandine, youth liaison speaking. There's quite a bit to cover tonight. I'll start with Halloween Spirit Week this week at the high school. It's a short week, just 3 days. Last day's on Wednesday. So there's also last week there was a graduation meeting for cap and gown ordering forms, and there was also the first new school design planning session during RTI. Our school has invited all the stakeholders in the new school to provide their input. And one of those stakeholders is obviously the students. So it's a really amazing process. They're doing voting and idea share, and just really involving the people who are going to be most affected by the change. So yeah, we also had we have Winter Club starting up. That's knowledgeable and mock trial, and those will both start in the first week of November. And early admissions to college is November 1st, and then UW is November 15th, and any other school that has early admissions is going to fall in between those dates. So that's all I have to share.
Good evening, everybody. For purposes of the record, this is Lincoln Forest Student Liaison. Last Tuesday we had we had a choir concert last Tuesday that I heard was very amazing. We have a very good choir team and we're very proud of them.
We had people share original pieces that they wrote, so that was really cool too. It was a platform for budding artists.
Last Thursday, we also had the senior nights for our girls soccer and girls volleyball team. I went to the volleyball one, and there was a lot of emotions flowing that night. This Thursday, we will be having trunk or treating outside of the high school football game. It's a event the school is hosting for the community for people with younger kids to come to the game, and we'll have a ton of cars set up, and they can basically trick or treat from the back of the cars. As Layla mentioned, it's a short week this week. That is because we will be having parent teacher conferences Thursday and Friday. And my last item is a bit of a heavier one. Last Sunday, there was a shooting threat on campus, not on campus, but Sunday night. There were threats found online of a shooting for Monday. The district, within a couple hours of these threats, had notified us that there was a detainment of the suspect and that they deemed it was fine to go to school tomorrow. I bring this up because this was a major event for a lot of the students at the high school. There was definitely a shift in like mental culture towards our safety at the high school. I was getting it. It was our second threat of the year. This one was definitely felt like a bigger threat than the first one, but there was online messages found and spread and et cetera, but it was a very large event for the students at Scum High School. The police were involved heavily with that. And Layla, is there anything you would like to mention additionally? No? Okay. That is the end of our report. Yes.
And is there like flyers for 988 and how to access behavioral health services through the 988 line? You can text and chat.
I'm unaware of that. Layla, do you have a response?
Yeah, we have typically ASB runs mental health awareness month. We have a staff person whose job is their whole job is to promote anti-bullying and mental health help and resources. And so I do know that stuff is around the school. But I would say probably those kinds of flyers you're asking about in the office, probably, yeah.
They're a good way to share because you can text from your phone and chat with a counselor, and you can call or you can send text on the computer too.
I think in light of this incident, it is really important. I hope that mental health is something we talk about more. Definitely, school safety is a huge thing. I think in light of this, everyone was just really grateful that we're getting a new campus. Truly, an open campus at the high school especially is one of the most unsafe things if a school shooting were to happen. And so I just think there's a lot of assurance in that regard. So yeah,
I didn't think about that because I thought it was great when I was in high school and we had an open campus. But when
I love it,
we heard from the police about how unsafe it is, and I'm sorry you guys went through that. I hope you guys feel safe eventually.
All right, thank you. City Manager.
Thank you, and nice to meet with you again, Council. Chief Hill was in my office Monday morning and talking about the long weekend and had a lot of cooperation with a lot of entities Sunday throughout the day and evening. So thanks to them. I want to excuse Christina, who's out of town. I don't know if we formally did that, but she's, of course, would normally be here. I also kind of expected Colleen here. She usually presents after a rally in the alley and has a lot of good data. So I didn't really, bring that. I did attend both drop-offs. It was at the Public Works shop and down at the park, and I went to both. They had two big dumpsters at both, and they were both, all four of them were full before the deadline, or they had it open for an hour and a half and they were filled before that time was up. So the community really takes advantage of this. And of course, the Interact Club was very active in that. A lot of students were down there helping the parks staff with unloading trucks and cars with their stuff. Anyway, as long as I'm thanking people, I wanted to call out Deputy Mayor Anderson for her role in working very closely with Marin and with the sister city delegation and that whole committee. That was a big lift for a lot of folks, and I just saw a lot of late hours and a lot of work behind the scenes. So I just wanted to thank all of the council for your support of that, and particularly Rachel. So I also wanted to let you know that you're all invited to this Friday's Halloween potluck. It's in here. A lot of fun, a lot of different costumes, but feel free to swing by. You're always invited. I wanted to also let you know last Tuesday we had a successful planning commission meeting. Carla ran that and presented the land use chapter, as well as some of the market analysis that had been done by Leland. It's phenomenal. They went page by page, and the commission had some good suggestions for very little. Some of it was just formatting, some of it was just terms, just a word or two, but really a great, very supportive Planning Commission. So I think they're very much looking forward to meeting with you. Is that next meeting? Is it next meeting? Or the next one after that?
Between the November meetings, that Monday between.
Oh, it's between the
Yeah.
two meetings. That's right. Okay.
17th.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, that's right. That's the only one that worked for the consultants, I think, in your schedules. Yeah, good. I was on a call Friday with the same auditors that I was on a call with the week before. It's the state auditing office. They were here the first time for all the federal grants and whatnot that we had. And then I have to go through an exit interview and answer a bunch of questions for them. And then we had a welcome interview Friday, because now they're going to do state funding. And I think in my report, I outlined some of the things they're going to be looking at specifically. But Sue is great and continues to, we really don't even get recommendations anymore. So they will be looking at well, you probably don't care. The Tyler conversion was big, and I'm glad they're looking at that. They're just wanting to make sure that all the securities, and as we dropped one enterprise software system and went with another one, they're able to do some forensic accounting and investigation. So we're all looking forward to that. And if they can find anything, we're of course very interested. But I think we did that right. I think we're still interviewing for 4 positions that I've talked to you before about: civil engineering intern, the GIS position in IT, the associate or senior planner, and the police officer. So that's good. HR is past the contracting and now into the implementation with NeoGov, which is the vendor. So we will have a completely digital HR department, which is, really a long ways from where we started a couple of years ago. So very excited about that, as are they, because there's a lot of paperwork in HR without it being digital. Anyway, I think that's mostly it. I probably want to end with we hosted what we call our operational emergency management partners. We've kind of divided all of the businesses in town into resource partners or operational partners. Resource meaning it's Thomas Rentals, right? They have chainsaws, they've got trucks and forklifts and lumber, and so we've met with them and had them sign an MOU and whatnot to have their resources available to us should we need that. Operational partners are more entities in the city area that are running key operations: OMC, PUD, the tribe, school district. And so twice a year we have them over here. We put these tables in a circle or whatever and share with them all the things that we're doing with the fire district, because we meet every month and with our tabletops, and then we allow them to tell us what they're doing. And it's really been collaborative, and they realize everybody's moving forward now because of this invitation and whatnot, and they're able to listen to each other, and we're sharing each other's phone numbers and emails, and just a lot of communication and strategic planning. But anyway, that was and they all showed up this time. A couple of them were remote, but they all had really good input, and it's nice to put names and faces and really feel like we're coming together as a greater community, not just as a city, relative to natural disasters and emergency preparedness. So anyway, any questions by anybody? Always nice to meet with you.
Thank you. Council reports. Anybody have anything?
Just one request, I guess. I want to see kind of where everybody's at. Jenny Pettit earlier spoke representing the sister city, requesting a letter of support. And I do have one drafted. I just wanted to make sure that council is okay moving ahead with that idea. And then could put it on the consent agenda for the next meeting. So I just wanted to make sure everybody, I'm seeing nods and thumbs. Okay, thank you so much. That's it for me.
Thank you for taking the initiative, Rachel. Really appreciate it.
I'm really passionate about this program. I just think it's the coolest thing to be able to share on a personal level, share your home and share your culture with people who are across the globe, 5,000 miles away. It's the coolest thing.
Agreed. Thank you.
And I hope you all saw the email. So we got the remarks because we didn't have an interpreter here, and we thought that AI was going to do that, and it was horrible. And I could tell that it was much more sincere and deeper than what we were getting. And so I asked for, if we could get that, and that was translated and sent to you. It's very, very sincere, kind, generous, collaborative remarks by the delegation.
And I guess I guess I wasn't done. Sorry. When we had the delegates here, I think we totally knocked their socks off. Everything was such a success. And I think that my biggest goal was we want to impress them so much so that they can know with no doubts that we are still committed and still wanting to keep this partnership ongoing. And I think we were very successful in that. And so I do want to take a moment and thank all of the staff that helped. I can't even tell you how many hours everybody in the community put into this visit. And so I'm just so, so grateful. Thank you.
Anybody have any reports?
I was at the SQUIM Arts Commission meeting today. Very exciting work there. They picked the themes for the 2026 art going up in the Karen Kuznick Reese Gallery. I'm not going to say what they are now. I'll leave it a surprise. And but we have a really just to say that the commissioners they are a very creative group, and it's just delightful to meet with them. I wanted to call out and highlight the fact that we have a really cool IT intern who is going to be working with the SQUIM Arts Commission to create an education adventure through an app similar to the one or the smartphone scavenger hunt that was revealed earlier this year at Carrie Blake. They're going to be doing another one, but just around the culture and arts of the city. And so that was just really delightful to hear about. So good things coming out of the SQUIM Arts Commission. And that's all I have for now.
All right, if nobody has anything else. All right, if not, we'll move on to open council discussion, and looks like Rachel.
Alrighty. So just like usual, this batch of interviews was really difficult to pick one candidate. But, and we did have, making sure everybody got their applications. I did mean to bring the interview questions and answers. So I do apologize that I don't have those in front of you. And I did want to start redacting names on these documents, especially for minors. It's just something that I want to protect them as much as I can. So I will just jump right into it. The candidate that I personally recommend would be candidate C. And the reason this was so hard was because most of their answers were the same, but the reason candidate C stood out was because they are interested in what did they say it was in here? Interested in diplomatic policy and would really like to have that real life experience. And so I think anytime anybody really is interested in anything policy or civil service, I would really like to give them that opportunity. Candidate A was a close second choice. They answered the questions in ways that made sense, and they had a lot of questions for me regarding the West Bay development, which was nice. I really appreciate it when especially students come and ask questions. And then candidate B was a good interview, but I felt like their answers were very mental health centric, and so I don't think that city council would be the best place to push that energy, if that makes sense. I feel like they might do better if they're able to, I don't know, like if PBH had any kind of interning or yeah, something like that. So with that, my recommendation is candidate C, but I am open to hearing any opinions or feedback. Or
do we can only pick one?
We can only pick one. Layla and Lincoln are staying on. And I will, whoever we do not choose, I will tell them to please apply next year. One of my big goals for this program is trying to keep up with I don't know if succession planning would be the right word, but kind of having a mentor, always having a mentor, and then new people coming in is the goal. So, and these are all juniors. I probably should have started with that. These are all juniors. So whoever we pick will also be on next year.
I trust your judgment. So.
And from what you provided, I was also leaning towards C.
Same here. Yeah, I was reading through the applications, and candidate C percolated to the top for me. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so just want a thumbs up so I can reach out to candidate C to let them know that congratulations. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So that's all finito. But I did also have something youth liaison related that I wanted to bring up during council discussion. And that's that public service is a very thankless job. And I know that we have a lot of plaques around to show our appreciation for people throughout the community that have put in a lot of effort. And so I wanted to just reach out and see if council was also interested in having a youth liaison plaque. I'm not quite sure exactly how much it would cost just because of the size of it. I wouldn't want to have to keep getting new ones, like if there's not enough space for names. But I could always talk to Sue about that and come back to you and research it. So I was just seeing, is anybody opposed to that idea? Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's a great idea and finance won't be a problem.
I had a question about this coming Thursday, October 30th. We received an email from Heather about the fact that a district meeting for the Association of Washington Cities is taking place in Paulsbo. It's October 30th, 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., hosted by Paulsbo City Council. Are any of us going? Okay, bummer. I can't go.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm usually available. I am unavailable.
Oh.
I know.
Well, okay. Figured I'd ask. Every interaction I've had with the AWC and the amazing programs that they offer and opportunities to connect have been invaluable and very, very excellent. So yeah, I was hoping one of us would be able to be there. Can't be me, but all right, next time. We are there in spirit then.
Anybody else have anything for open discussion?
If nobody else does, I had just one more comment. So I take a lot of pride in trying to be like a low income voice at the table. And my husband and I are trying not to panic with the upcoming SNAP not going into our family coffer. We are low income. We get the full amount of SNAP and we always use it. And this isn't a woe is me. Luckily, I get a stipend from being an elected official, and I have been, I can hopefully use that. But I don't know how many other families will be going through this, or if they have that cushion to be able to afford food. And it is a really disheartening time in our country when people do not understand the impact of their decision making. If this ends up being an ongoing issue, I mean, I don't know the data of how many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of SNAP funds go into our local economy, but I know a lot of it is used at the farmers market. I know that a lot of it is used at our local grocery stores, and it is a painful realization that those tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars may not be going into your local grocery stores, which then could end up making them crumble. And if they don't have the income, they don't have employees, and they lose their employees and they need to find different jobs. And it's just, it's scary. It's really scary. And I just wanted to voice that so people, not necessarily you guys, I know you guys get it, but so other people can understand what families do need to go through. Even when my husband was working full time, we still had food stamps because it is impossible to live on one income and raise a family. So thank you for hearing me out.
No, I know we have no way of knowing really what the unintended consequences are, and I know, Matt, you and I know from presentations we've received at Rotary that the food bank, I believe, is 30% increase in need over the last year at this time period. So we've also, I saw some information go out too on, we have a slew of Coast Guard employees too who are here who aren't getting paid. Park Service employees who aren't getting paid. There's, I don't think we're fully aware of everything that's going on in our community, but the best way people can help is contributing to the food bank and supporting our neighbors.
This is a time of supporting one's neighbor and your community and mutual aid. That is what's going and building community and showing up for people, and we're choosing not to lose hope. I just want to share that I know that through all of this with the cut in SNAP, it has been SNAP was a very large part of the work that Wazoo Extension does in the community. We are very, very fortunate that the staff that work in our community, in our county for SNAP are very very skilled at what they do, and they have been able to navigate this. And I'm going to just leave it at that. We are so grateful. We are so lucky to have the staff there doing the great work that they are doing, and they are doing the best with what they have and what they can access, and they are. I think that goes without saying for so many folks in our community across the board, for every organization, that people are just choosing this time to rise to the occasion and do the very best with what they can and what they can still do given the circumstances. So thank you for bringing up this conversation, Deputy Mayor. It is a very strange time for all of us. Thank you.
It's 12% nationwide of grocery store budgets come from SNAP benefits. I met the new DSHS secretary last week. She is awesome. And this is like front of them. They're working really hard trying to figure out what to do. And I think they're open to any suggestions too. We talked about farmers markets and food sovereignty and programs that are more about, food directly to people, but that does take out of the economy. But she's really great. I think she's thinking about all of you guys.
And I do want to give a shout out to the school district who, I think isn't it breakfast and lunch is free to anybody this year. And I think a lot more kids are going to be utilizing that. So thank you to the school district.
My roommate works in the lunchroom at the high school, and they've seen a huge increase over the last month.
Thanks. Let me add just to Rachel, thanks for being vulnerable and sharing that for our benefit, but also for the benefit of those who might be listening in.
I wish I had some details, but I have visited with a really personable woman on the plaza here 3 to 4 days a week, and she hands out lunches. And as I tried to understand the program and all the people involved, I think the busy work, meaning the people that put the lunches together, is a church, and then it's handed off to somebody else, maybe the food bank, who then makes it available here. If they don't hand out all of the lunches here, then it goes to a couple other places around town, but she assured me that none of it is ever wasted and that it makes its round to make sure, so I was really pleased to know that that's available on our plaza multiple days of the week.
I also wanted to add something that we forgot to put in our report. ASB does an annual food drive. It's called Boo Hunger. We leave bags out in residential neighborhoods like places like Bell Hill and Sunland. And it's one of the most successful, I think, food drives of the year. It's really amazing how much our community gives. And I think there was a real emphasis on it this year. I think especially this year. We really appreciate any support from the community in this specific food drive because, Thanksgiving is right around the corner. Yeah.
Well, and staying along those lines, November 7th is the Serenity House annual fundraiser. I'll be there with my daughter and my uncle. Hope to see some of you other people there.
All right, besides myself and Rachel, anybody like to attend the planning meeting on the 4th? If you'd like to, just let Heather know. Other than that, Harmony, I haven't forgot about you. You ready to take over for one before the end of the year?
So you're suggesting I chair the next meeting?
Would you like to?
Sure. Bring it on.
All right.
Challenge accepted.
All right. Next one be November 10th at 6 p.m.
I moved to adjourn.
Wait.
Sorry,
Wait.
Redact that.
So, when is agenda planning again?
The 4th.
The 4th.
We'll make sure it's long.
At what time?
2 o'clock.
Okay, as long as it's an hour and I can attend remotely. Okay. All right. Better put that in my Google Calendar now.
Okay, now I move to adjourn.
All right. Any opposed? All right. Have a good night, everyone.